Hi, welcome back, listeners. Today, I want to touch on a topic that I hear a lot about from our clients and business owners that are feeling like they're struggling with their numbers. And I want to make sure, one, we understand why that's happening. We acknowledge that those feelings are very valid. And I'm going to go through 7 myths and ways that we're going to be able to address some of the issues that you're all having with dealing with your numbers. This is at times very sensitive topic. So I want to make sure we touch it with care and a lot of empathy, because I understand how difficult this can be for a lot of you out there, especially if it triggers some emotions from the past, or maybe you don't feel like you have a way to control what's happening in your business financially. I know that a lot of you have not actually looked at your financials. Is that true? Raise your hand. Yep, I know it because I hear all the time that a lot of you are just avoiding it. Like you're putting your head in the sand, going about your business and not really taking a look at it because you're not sure what you should expect. It's hard to know what might be behind your numbers and you feel like you just want to avoid it. And you're not alone in that. A lot of business owners don't want to look at their numbers. And this is common, especially if things are not going well. And even if things are going well, you don't want to look at it because you're not sure. And this is where they just struggle to even confront what's happening in their business and their numbers. And I talked to a lot of founders and business owners that we work with and that are prospect clients. And they always say, I'm not good with numbers. I'm not sure where that came from for them, but at some point in their life, they decided that they weren't a numbers person and that they weren't good with it. So they struggled to even be able to manage it, let alone look at it and be in tune with their numbers and what's happening. They also say things like, I didn't go to business school, so why should I know how to manage my numbers? And that's true to a point, so we'll address that as well. And then a lot of you out there are winging it, hoping that it all works out. And we always say winging it is not a strategy. So if we want to get better at this and we want to improve our numbers, we need to start looking at them, managing them, and confronting what's happening in our business, whether it's good or bad. Oftentimes, when we sit down to look at the numbers, the business owners are surprised of how much better than they thought it was going to be, rather than like worse than they thought. And if it was worse than they thought, then we help them with actionable ways to address it to ensure that it starts to improve and make progress. But the truth of it is that avoiding your numbers is going to harm you and your business because it's costing you the clarity and confidence that you need to be able to make the right decisions for your business. And ultimately, it might be impacting even your cash in the business. So we want to put more money in your pocket, not take it away from your pocket. So let's make sure we're working through what that needs to look like. Okay, so we're going to look at 7 blind spots to keep you all not being stuck or stressed about your numbers and simple ways that we can address some of those concerns and what to do about them. So let's start with, I'm not good with numbers. Many founders, again, have this feeling. They can relate to it. It's very common. And even successful founders, right, talking multiple millions of dollars, several years in business, do not feel like they're good with numbers. So guess what? Some of them hire help, and that is totally okay. If you are just not great at them, then you should find a CFO partner and someone who can walk you through what the numbers are telling you, explains things to you in a way that you understand them. Because being an entrepreneur doesn't mean you also have to be a great accountant or a great CFO. Like you can play that role for a while in your business while you're growing it, but at some point you're going to surpass that ability to be able to manage the complexity of the finances in your business. Okay, another aspect not being good with your numbers is you do not need to do the number crunching yourself. You just need to be able to understand what's happening in your business financially. If you especially don't enjoy the number side because you feel you're not good at it, one way is you can get better at it by educating yourself, empowering yourself through knowledge. And if you're like, it's just not my thing, then you let someone else run the numbers and you ask the questions and you understand what's happening in your business financially to make sure you can make the right decisions for it. Because you do not want to advocate decision making. You still want to be involved enough and feel confident enough to be able to decide what's right because you know your business best. Anyone that you bring to your business to help you understand the numbers is going to bring perspective and some input and recommendations, but ultimately the decision lies with you on what should be done and taking that advice into consideration. So for example, if you're going to be driving a car, do you also need to know how to fix the engine? No, you just need to be able to read the dashboard so you can safely drive the car. So this is no different. In your business, you want to be able to have that dashboard, understand what's happening financially so you can then take really good steps and actions to drive the growth and decisions that you need to make in order to improve the profitability and cash position of your business. And another example is, should you also be a great attorney just because you happen to be a business owner? No, you didn't go to law school, so just no different than not going to business school. Why should you assume that you're just great at the legal side of your business, you probably hire an attorney, a professional to help you with that. So the number side of your business is no different. So we want to make sure that we understand where your responsibility lies on being in tune with your numbers versus having to do the work or be really good at it or an expert in it. Now, let's move on to I didn't go to business school, so I'm just going to wing it. Yes, you didn't go to business, but somehow you still built a business and you're successful in it. So the key here is you need to just have enough information to make good decisions. And you want to make sure you learn and understand what's happening in the numbers. Someone might explain it to you, or you might look at your P&L and start reading some key numbers, which we'll get into a little later. But this is about building frameworks and systems that work with your business to help you understand what's happening financially. So you don't need to know it all, but you need to have systems in place that help you address and understand what's happening on the number side of your business. So if you don't already have that in place, bring in someone, hire someone who can help you build those systems so that you better understand your numbers. It could be in a graphical, visual way instead of maybe just all the numbers, right? That might feel a little overwhelming. It might be someone narrates what's happening with the numbers to you, and because you like to learn in by listening to it. So there's ways that you can get better at your numbers, but it starts with like the awareness of, okay, I didn't go to business school, so what do I need to do in order to be successful? And how do I make sure my business is, I'm getting the information I need to make better business decisions so that I'm not flying blind. Next one, I know enough, but I'm sure I'm missing something. So this one is just a gaps closure piece. With your business growing, you have more complexity in your business financially than you did before. So at some point, your business is going to outgrow your ability as a founder and business owner to manage it all. And this is where you start to hire people, and you probably built a team by now that manages things for you. You're not the one involved in everything. You might not even have the answers to half the things that your team is asking you. So making sure that you understand what are the gaps, asking the right questions, analyzing the right metrics so that you know exactly where you're at in your business. Things from, cash flow forecasting to tax planning to understanding your margins in your business by service or product line. These are helpful things for you to understand, and it's going to help you start closing those gaps in knowledge around what you're feeling that you're not sure about and you can't put your finger on it. Those tend to be the common ones we see when we start working with clients. And this is where a good fractional CFO can come in to help you close those gaps. And unfortunately, your bookkeeper and accountant are not going to be the type that's going to handhold you through answering your questions and doing the analysis and helping you understand your numbers all the time. Some of them might offer to, some of them might have the ability or skill set, and some might not. So you cannot be relying on just your bookkeeper and accountant. You need to bring in this third function of a fractional CFO in your business to help you understand what's happening financially, and then more so you can drive the future of your finances in the right way. So if things are not exactly where you want them to be, if you want to make changes, if you want to make better financial decisions, then this is where a CFO partner will come in to help you understand what's happened and also map out the growth plan going forward or the action plan going forward to make the changes necessary to be successful. So don't rely on your bookkeeper and accountant only, because there's so much more than a CFO can do to help expedite your growth in the business and help you grow both top line, so revenue, and bottom line profit in your business, putting more money in your pocket ultimately as the owner. Now, we always focus on people and profit, so we don't do this at the expense of people. So that's another component of the work that we do, is we prioritize both and make them work together to ensure that the profitability of the business is sustainable. And then the people are also cared for on the way, because I know how important your teams are to all of you. And compensation is a key aspect of managing costs. So if you're struggling with that, make sure that you reach out, because we'll be able to help you with balancing those. I want you to start by identifying your 4 top numbers that each business owner should know. I'll go through them right now. So make sure you get a pen and paper. If you're driving, come back to this episode later for the show notes where we will have those outlined. 4 key numbers you need to know. 1, revenue. What was your revenue this month? 2, expense. What were your costs for generating the revenue? It could be direct labor costs, or it could be just operating expenses, things, rent, internet, anything that you need to run your business. What was your profit? This is a most important number you can have in your business and no one understands. A lot of business owners focus on revenue, and that's just a vanity metric, because you can have a $5 million business that makes $0 in profit, or you can have a $500,000 business that makes $250,000 in profit. Which one will you you prefer. I would choose the 250 in profit because 5 million is too much work to make nothing. So that's number 3 is profit, and number 4 is cash on hand. Why is cash important but never talked about? Because when you run out of cash, you run out of business. So if you're not watching what's in your cash reserves, what's in your bank account, if you haven't built a cash reserve for your business, this is where you start to get in trouble because bills come due, payroll comes due, and then you don't have the money to pay them. So it's important you understand what cash do you have available in the form of liquid cash in your bank account, checking, savings, and also lines of credit or credit cards that you might be able to use to pay costs as they come in while you're waiting to collect on some revenue. So those are the 4 key metrics. I'll recap: revenue, expense, profit, and cash on hand. If you know those numbers, and there's just 4 of them. So, if you're feeling overwhelmed by looking at all the other numbers, just narrow it down to this 4, and you'll start to feel a sense of understanding what's happening in your business. Now, what do you do if you don't like the numbers? We'll have an episode on that to address it. But for now, focus on those 4. Every month you should know what they are, and you'll start to see patterns emerge. Okay, so the next one is I rely on my bookkeeper for monthly accountability. While your bookkeeper is probably a great asset for your business to have it manage your categorization and making sure the financial statements are put together correctly, which is really critical and the foundation of financial health, by the way. So we are saying this is an important role. They are only recording what already happened. So you already made decisions. Now we're like seeing it come through the P&L. There's expenses. There's things that you decided to purchase for the business, investments you made, and they're just recording the history. If you're trying to move forward in a different way, make sure that you're managing expenses, that you're really understanding how you're going to grow your business. This is where a CFO is going to be able to help you craft that future state that you want to see in your business, not your bookkeeper. So solely relying on bookkeeping is going to help you miss the strategy, which is the whole point of business growth, is having the right strategy, and make sure that you don't get surprised by cash flow issues that come up in your business because you haven't done the proper forecasting or projections to understand where's your business going. What are we doing differently next month to make sure that we grow revenue, or do we lower expenses or have more profit? What do we do to build the cash reserves? Like, all of this are things that we want to be thinking about as a business owner and driving intentionally. Okay, so make sure that you use those monthly reviews with your bookkeepers, not to just check the box like I review my books, but ask questions. And if they're not able to answer them, then you might need to go to the CFO to start getting answers to those bigger questions that you're asking around. Can I afford to hire? Should I pay myself more? How do I become profitable? These are things that CFOs will address with you and create a plan to make them happen. So if you haven't done that already, make sure you reach out for some support. I haven't looked at my numbers when my bookkeeper handles it. That's fantastic. But the hard truth is that if you don't look at your numbers, you're flying blind. As a business owner, you cannot make decisions if you don't know what's happening in your data with your numbers. So I know you're probably rolling your eyes on me right now because numbers feel heavy, or they might be a trigger for you or be emotionally charged topic to address in your business. But successful CEOs know their numbers. So if you want to be in the driver's seat and start to be the pilot that's flying the plane, you gotta look at your dashboard. You gotta know if you're gonna run out of gas, if you need to push on the brakes, if you need to accelerate, foot on the gas. You need to know what to do next. And in order to do that, we need to be able to understand the numbers. So we will help you go through that with empathy and understanding that this could be a very heavy subject and that you need some hand-holding and gentle care around understanding your numbers and what to do with your numbers as you move forward. We've even been in situations where we've gotten clients out of financial trouble because they ran out of cash or they didn't properly plan. They asked us what to do, and we gave them an action step with 5 things to address to be able to make sure their business stayed in business and they could make payroll and start paying themselves again. So these are the kind of things that a CFO can do for your business in addition to increasing value overall. Make sure you set on your calendar a 15 to 20 minute appointment once a month to review your numbers, either by yourself or with a financial advisor or CFO that can help you understand what's happening in your numbers. This will just start to bring in the discipline, the habit, that understanding that you need in order to run a more successful business as you move forward. Okay, next one. Depending on the month, I might forget to review my finances. This is a very common one. We're all busy business owners. Even I have to set time aside to review my own numbers, and I do this this for a living. Inconsistency is going to lead to poor decision making. That's really what it is. Not being in tune with your numbers, not knowing if you overspent last month, if you need to do something different this month, if you need to change what you were doing because it's not working anymore. You won't know because you're not looking at the numbers. So you need to implement a recurring monthly meeting, like we said, where you have a CEO money meeting to look at not just your numbers like the P&L and all the results, but also what are your key performance indicators. Without getting too complex, these are like the front end of your business, like what needs to happen in order for us to make revenue. You need to understand what's happening there. But let's just start with the 4 numbers that I mentioned, just to keep it simple, and then make sure that you're building that consistency and those reps, because it'll just become easier and easier every month that you go through and review your numbers. Okay, last one. Finances are getting over my head. And this is true because at some point, businesses go through an inflection point where the owner was able to manage all the financial aspects of it, but now it's kind of slipping through the cracks, or it's just overwhelming because there's a lot going on. And the thing that we don't talk about is the interdependency of the numbers. So when you make one decision, there's another consequence and another consequence in another area of your business, and making sure that you're mapping those out correctly so that you're not having unintended consequences is going to be key when making decisions. So as your business grows and you're getting traction, your finances are going to get more complex. So if you're feeling like this is just too much, and I used to be able to handle it, it was super easy. I used to look at my P&L, things were great. Now I just have no idea where money is going. People are spending money and I'm just seeing the result of it. I feel like I have no control, way too much going on. This is where we need to put in systems in place to monitor things, to start to make intentional decisions and put those controls in place so that things don't just run on their own. You need to get involved and you need to bring in some help if you're feeling overwhelmed, because this is very normal and you just have a lot going on anyway. So this is just one more thing you need to focus on, or have the right finance leadership come in to help you support that and take that off your plate while still keeping you involved at the right level. So that stage can look something like you have more than 2 or 3 revenue streams, maybe 4 now, and you're not sure what's happening with each of them. Revenue streams is like service lines or product lines that you might have in your business. Your team is over 10 employees, maybe 20, maybe 50, and you still haven't gotten any help and you're still hiring. So you're growing a lot by hiring. You're not sure if you even have the right compensation strategy, but you're just kind of hiring. That's when you want to bring in some help. Your inventory is out of control. Your cash is tied up on inventory on hand and you haven't moved it, and you're having cash flow, growth, investment needs. So having to spend more per payroll, you're outlaying more cash than is coming in. This is where it's critical that you bring in some help to understand what's happening in your business and how we're going to change things or make a plan to move forward in the right way. So just to wrap it up, all the 7 myths that we went through are: I'm not good with numbers. I didn't go to business school. I'm winging it. I know enough, but I'm sure I'm missing something. I rely on my bookkeeper for monthly accountability. I haven't looked at my numbers. My bookkeeper handles it. Depending on the month, I might forget my finances. Finances are getting over my head. So you don't need to be a numbers whiz. You just need to have the systems and rhythms and right support in place to be able to help you manage all that. So we have a I Got My P&L Now What workshop that you can attend if you want to learn more about those 4 key numbers that I mentioned and how to manage them. You also can sign up for a free 20-minute Q&A consultation with a CFO on our website to see if we can help support this complex growth that you're experiencing. And then don't forget to subscribe and follow the podcast for future CFO actionable tips. Thank you for being here today. I hope this was helpful. Make sure you take action on any of those areas that you're feeling uncertain about, and then build those financial habits into your monthly routine so that you feel more in touch and in tune with what's happening in your business.